Hi, hello everybody. My name is Manjunath Padiki, and I run a boutique communications consulting firm called Verbly. Thank you, Reputation, today for giving me this platform, for sharing some of my views. Um, I want to talk today about a key but often overlooked aspect of career building process. Increasingly so today, where instant gratification rules everybody's lives. So, what does it mean to build a successful and, more importantly, a meaningful career? While I will talk about it from the viewpoint of PR and communications, the topic is by definition generic, right? Um, I will also discuss some practical steps to achieve the success that you envisage, right? Now there are many ways. There are many ways. There are as many ways as there are people. Right? There is no one way of doing it. So I'll stick to my personal experience and views. Um, and I want to share three things. Right? Call them lessons, call them steps, call them what you will. They're simple, simple enough to sound obvious, and therefore not very easy. So here it comes. Step number one that you need to do to have a meaningful, successful career is to grow through learning, not scaling. Right? You might think it's a no-brainer, right? Who isn't focused on learning? You'd be surprised. Most people confuse growth with scaling. Let me illustrate this with a personal example. I started my comms career in Hyderabad, and because I was doing a very good job, I got promoted quite quickly. Right, in less than 5 years, I was flaunting a designation equivalent of an account director. I'm using the word flaunting very consciously. Right, so I scaled. I scaled very fast, but did I grow? um, I realized that there was very limited scope for PR in Hyderabad, so I asked for a transfer to the Bangalore office. The organization readily agreed. They could do with a performer there. However, when I came to the Bangalore office, I realized that from a pure capability point of view, I was way behind even people two levels below me. I was completely out of my depth. Some of the things that are taken for granted at my level, I had never done in my life. Right? I had grown without learning. Thankfully, I had good managers who helped me and a team that tolerated me. But I had to roll up my sleeves and, how do I put it, get back into the trenches. And it took me almost a year before I could find my feet and to be relevant. When I look back and contemplate on um, what went wrong, I realized I was scaling very fast, but not growing, right? Because it was not backed by relevant acquisition of knowledge. Growing in your capability. Growing is your capability to increasingly get better at a job. Scaling is a gratification you receive. So growth is the effort and scaling is the reward. A lot of times you get undeserved scaling in your career, like I did. This could be because there is a shortage of people. We know our industry is always facing a shortage of people, or because there's too much work, right? Or maybe because somebody thinks highly of you, or maybe you're just a smart talker, right? A multitude of reasons could give you undeserved scaling, but karma usually catches up, or maybe it won't. There is a lot of redundancy in any industry. Some people manage well by hustling, but I assume you are not one of them, right? I hope so. I hope you want to grow meaningfully. So, Focus on growth derived scaling. When you become a manager after being the best account executive um, you can not only be a good manager, but you can also groom others to be good executors, right? Um, Step two, growth through conscious learning. Now you might be thinking, what does that mean? Right? Indulge me for a bit. Any growth, any skill, any learning that cannot be documented, demonstrated, or articulated cannot be repeated, right? Um, let's take the artist versus artisan analogy. When we look at those traditional weavers, toy makers, and painters, we can observe that they are very skilled. They're very skilled. But the issue is that they have not learned their art consciously, right? So they cannot work on 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 themselves to get better. That is why they run the risk of becoming outdated or obsolete. An artist, on the other hand, is constantly rediscovering, right? Redefining and reinventing herself. She's conscious of her growth. If you don't know why you succeeded or why you failed, you're just a gambler, right? When you pause to reflect on what you have learned and how it has impacted you, you empower yourself to repeat the process. Success or failure uh, is a result of an attempt, right? An effort. When you analyze what you did and what was the result, you make the lessons from the exercise conscious and the growth derived from it permanent, repeatable, and transferable. Now that brings to the third and the last step, transfer, transfer growth. Become a mentor, right? There is a limitation to individual growth. There is no limitation on growth of a team. The best way to grow forever, in my opinion, is to help someone else grow. There is an altruistic reason and a selfish reason. Selfish reason is when your team grows, meaning really grows, right, through learning, they then create a wave behind you that can catapult you into hyper growth. The kind of growth that is not feasible to do on your own, to achieve on your own. Now this growth that you achieve results in you creating new paths, ideas, and templates. This makes it easier for others, especially the team behind you, to achieve their hypergrowth. And that is the altruistic reason. Right? Now, all this might seem like gyan. I get it. So you might ask, all this is great, but how exactly one can achieve these steps? So let me give you 3 points, again 3 points, to achieve this meaningful, fulfilling, and super gratifying growth in your career. Right? Point one, be Jon Snow. Now, what I mean is a passionate pursuit of your daily chores, daily activities. Remember Jon Snow? For the uninitiated, one of the key characters in Game of Thrones. There was an entire war raging, right? From his house to his family to his country, were in grave despair, and he was stuck at the wall. What did he do? He did not worry about all of that. He passionately pursued whatever was in front of him, and we all knew how that ended for him. So, what does that mean? What does that mean, right? It means that if you're an account executive and your job is in the morning to come and compile coverage, pursue it passionately. If you are a manager with the job of managing clients and their idiosyncrasies, do it with passion. Right? I'm not saying stay in a dead job. If something is not for you, it is not for you. But there is a time and a place. Keep career and other existential thoughts, if you have them, for the weekend. If you are in a job and it is still not Friday evening, focus on the job and do it the best that you possibly can. You might ask then, what is a job well done? What does it mean to do a good job? That brings me to point two. The best indicator of a job well done is making your boss redundant. Replace your boss. Make your boss job unnecessary. Small caveat, unnecessary from your job's perspective. Let me explain. It doesn't matter what level you are, you will have a boss of some sort. And from your perspective, I repeat, from your perspective, the most important role of a boss is to oversee your job. Make sure that he or she doesn't have to do that. Trust me, your boss has bigger potatoes to fry. Not all bosses are the same, of course. Some do represent the wrong end of the digestive tract. But for the most part, your boss is fighting a bigger battle. Nothing, I repeat, nothing is a better indicator of your growth than your boss not needing to oversee your job. If you can accomplish that, you are creating a positive spiral of growth for yourself, for your team below, and for your boss too, right? And by definition, you become a leader. The third point is, don't do a job for more than a year. Okay, let me be a little careful here. This should come out right. Uh, Another great indicator of your growth is you get to do a different job every year or every 2 years, depending on what level you are. So, okay, the point is, if your job description has not changed for a period longer than 2 years, you need to change your career. Communication is not for you. Maybe it's teaching or sales or coding. Communication is not for you. Or whatever that you are doing currently is not for you. Let me paint a picture. Let's say you joined as a fresher and you were assigned the job of preparing reports, right? Or coverage tracking or sending DCRs to clients. You should evolve so fast that in less than a year or a particular period of time, the organization should feel it is a waste of your time if you continue to do that. They should think that it is wasting your time by not giving you something bigger and better, like client engagement, research, new business, anything, right? But if you see that you're doing the same thing for a long time, then you should know it's your fault. Because it is not, in fact, it cannot be your organization's fault that you're not growing. It could be your boss's fault, but not your organization's fault. Because it is in your company's best interest that you grow as fast as possible. The best way any organization, or for that matter, any entity makes the most money and profit is when its people grow very, very fast. So if your job description hasn't changed, but you still have a job, it could be for any of the reasons, right? It could be because you're doing a decent or acceptable job, but you're not replacing your boss, meaning you're not growing. Or you are doing your boss's job, right? You are trying to replace your boss, and your boss is, for being politically correct, not a very pleasant person, meaning your boss is not growing. Or worst case, the company is not able to replace you for whatever reason, right? Which means the company is not growing. You need to reevaluate and address the issue. But the underlying thumb rule is the speed at which your job description changes is a direct indicator of your growth. Um, that's what I wanted to share. Thank you for indulging me, and happy growing.